Does lobbying change in a single-chamber legislature? Imagine trying to influence a decision in a room with only one person. That's what lobbying looks like in a legislature with just one chamber. Unlike systems with two chambers, where lobbyists have to navigate to separate groups, in a single-chamber system, everything happens in one place. This setup makes lobbying more straightforward and often more targeted. In a unicameral legislature, lobbyists focus all their efforts on influencing one group of lawmakers. They target the committee decisions, the debates on the floor, and the final votes, all within the same chamber. Because there is only one legislative body, lobbyists don't need to split their attention between two different groups. This can make their efforts more direct and efficient. Another key difference is how the legislative agenda is controlled. In a unicameral system, the power to decide which bills get considered is more centralized. Lobbyists often work to shape the agenda early on, trying to get their preferred bills onto the floor. Since there's only one path for legislation, tracking and influencing bills becomes simpler. They can focus on a single process rather than managing two separate ones. Accountability can also look different in a unicameral system. When there are two chambers, each can check the other, which might reduce the influence of lobbyists. But with only one chamber, the influence of lobbyists can be more noticeable because there are fewer institutional barriers. If one party dominates the chamber, lobbyists might find it easier to sway decisions. States like Nebraska have unicameral legislatures, and their lobbying efforts tend to be more concentrated. Lobbyists often develop close relationships with fewer legislators, making their advocacy more targeted. This can lead to quicker legislative responses, but it also means lobbyists need to be strategic about timing and messaging. Legislators in a single-chamber system are often more accessible. Because there are fewer members, lobbyists can meet with them more easily. This direct access can help lobbyists push their ideas more effectively, but it also puts pressure on legislators to balance the interests of their constituents with lobbying influences. When it comes to procedures, lobbyists in unicameral systems focus heavily on committee stages and floor debates. These are the main points where bills are shaped and decided. Since there is no second chamber, there are fewer procedural hurdles, so lobbyists often prioritize early engagement to influence how bills are drafted and what amendments are considered. Overall, lobbying in a single-chamber legislature tends to be more concentrated and can be more influential because of the streamlined process and fewer checks. This means lobbyists often dedicate their resources to a smaller group of legislators and focus on influencing the entire legislative process from start to finish. But the actual impact depends on the political environment, party control, and how transparent the process is. So, in a nutshell, lobbying does change in a single-chamber legislature. It becomes more direct, focused, and potentially more powerful, but it also raises questions about how checks and balances work in the legislative process.